going to be a solo master Nightfall, getting the platinum rank on the new strike, which is the Glassway. As you saw from the modifiers, the most important one to consider is Togetherness. All the regular master modifiers are on. There's nothing really important. Just make sure you're matching towards overload Minotaurs. So you need an overload weapon and an anti-barrier weapon, basically, which we have that. We've got double primary and we're using Anarchy. I understand people may not have this weapon, but this is the hardest Nightfall in the game currently. Especially with this rotation. You can tell that because there's not many people uploading solos on this. So it's one of the hardest solo to do. If you don't have it, the next best recommendation for you is double primaries interface. Okay? That's going to see you good, but you're going to have to run a Balls of War, which is an artifact mod which gives you heavy ammo on finisher kills on champs. Therefore you can regularly get Xenophage. It's pretty good, but Anarchy is obviously the next step. Now this thing took me 50 minutes and I'm using the best setup possible for it, so bear in mind any setups that aren't as good as mine, it's taking you longer and longer. And how much time do you really want to spend on it? It's double loot this week as well, which is a shame. Like, they've done double loot on the wrong week in my eyes. They should have just done it last week. Last week would have been better. Just a week when Togetherness is not on, 'cause it's the worst modifier in the game. It's alright for teams. They must know solo players play this. They must know. This modifier just isn't ideal. Well, that's why we're on the class that we are. So we're on Radiance, Warlock of course. A Hunter run will be very good on this as well. A Titan can do it as well. Titan, you would have to use a health regen type of build, either One Eye Mask or Crest of Alpha Lupi, or even the new exotic gauntlets, but I don't know if they're good as there, so I would probably do a Crest of Alpha Lupi build for the Titan. But this is focusing on what we're doing right now, which is Warlock. This section right here, we can spawn kill a lot of the adds that spawn in. But my nade sort of missed, that's fine, they're going to push up to us, so we can use a nade right here. And obviously we've got a cell build on, I'll talk more about when we're running through, but I did show it at the start. But that cell there just clears out all the adds, so now we're confident that there's no adds left. He overloads up, we take the overload from distance, do not push up past the overload. If we do so, the anti-barrier champion will spawn in, therefore making the overload champion immune because of the anti-barrier champion. So you need to separate it up, that's what it's all about. If you can make a cell off the champ as well, that is ideal, which I didn't. Now I could have done that via my nade, solar nade, or my Icolos. I didn't do that, but that would have been ideal if you did, because blow the cell up, as right now, before the anti-barrier gets there, and then it would be just you and the anti-barrier. That would have sped this up a little bit. That's fine if you don't as well. You just need to play a little bit behind, especially cover. We've got the exotic helmet on the Stag, which I'll talk more about as we're going, and what it exactly does. We're weak, we got a cell there though, that's fine, so it's just us and the champ I believe. Might be one more add up. We've got to heal him, we need to use that though. We'll do so. Anarchy will do the work and then we'll get a shield break. Finish that champ off. And the rest of the adds. So our setup, we have a cell build on, which consists of solar mods. So we've got Wrath of Rasputin, Rage of Rasputin, Global Reach, and Warmind's Protection and Power of Rasputin. So it's based on solar explosions. It's also based on if we leave the shield up, sorry, the Warmind cell up, then we get a 10% damage buff with Power of Rasputin, and we can survive more, which you need in this. We've also got void damage resistance on our armor, which is huge for this. You've got to put it on. I've got void. I haven't got concussive on. I've got the void damage instead. We did grey launcher reserves and some other grey launcher back. We have Surge Eater and Thermal Overload on to stun champions as well, so that gives us our solar nade back every time we stun a champion. If you're going to run a different loadout like Xenophage, you're going to need to run Spores of War in my eyes, because it's just going to run out of ammo, and as you can see there's so many champions to kill. There's around 16 champions alone at the boss fight, and then you've got to kill all these champions getting up there first. There's tons and tons and tons of champions. Now this area works the same as the previous one. The further you push up, the chances that you're going to get anti-barrier spawn. The anti-barrier is going to make everything immune, making it hard work. Don't make it hard work for yourself, stay back here. As you saw, I took out the anti-barrier, the overload, sorry. Easy enough back here, and we can do everything. Also, we can get our healing rate up. With the exotic helmet Stag, which, when critically wounded, we get rift energy back. If you run maximum recovery, you get a healing rift back straight away. So this is like one of the best things for Grandmasters, and on this type of Nightfall as well, because of Togetherness on. So you're going to get one shot off and you're not getting that health regen. We'll do a well here, just to speed this up. The well can also bypass the immunity of the anti-barrier, but we're just looking for a cell to then explore the rest of the ads. Because we're guaranteed a Warmind cell for any champ that we kill with either Solar Splash or our Seraph weapon. So that's a guarantee. For minor ads, it's 5. Up to 5 ads, then you get a cell. So you can kind of count the kills as you go and manipulate when you want to sell and when you don't want to sell. So this section, same as previous, you want to spawn in the ads first and then come back here. It's not safe for you to be fighting down there with the setup that we have in terms of togetherness and stuff. Because what's going to happen is the mini boss will put you into a stasis nade, freeze you, and then you're dead at that point. There's tons of snipers, an overload champion, and a lot of stuff. So what we need to do is get the mini boss to be a bit scared of us in terms of push. Like the mini boss will push back to the back of the map and won't do any stasis at all. In order to achieve that, you need to kill all the ads around the mini boss, including the overload, to sort of neutralize the mini boss. And all he'll do is he'll snipe you. If I was to go down there now, he's going to throw a stasis nade, which we don't want. We're going to try and get some Anarchy shots when we can. If you have a good angle to get the overload, try and do it. I didn't. Once most ads are down, you can kind of push up to this rock here and start working on snipers and stuff. All the ads around. If he does do his stasis nade like so, you can just go off, back and forth between these rocks. Anytime you one shot like that, you're going to get that Stag procking the perk, meaning we get a rift back. It's ideal, because when we're getting sniped, we're getting one shot like that. So this is our angle on the champion now. So we're going to take it. Just going to keep disrupting him with our scout while he's getting taken down from the Anarchy. And then at that point, he should stop throwing his stasis nades. And then when he does that, you can push up a little bit. Same thing as the previous rooms, we must kill the mini boss before we push up, because there's another anti-barrier champion in here. So we've always got to be aware of that. Eventually he will push back, he's doing his nades. We'll see when we get him there. Got rift down here. And this is where, once he goes all the way back, that's fine at that point. And we can just Anarchy from a distance. Obviously you can get Anarchy solo now. It's going to take a lot of weeks of getting the chests and what have you, but if you're somebody that needs it and plays this game a lot, you should be getting them chests while it's in the game, while you can still do it. Yeah, because it's it's one of the most useful weapons in the game, if not the most useful. Gonna strafe in and out off his shots. Try and get some Anarchy shots on him when possible. Just move about a bit though. We're also coming up to our next well, so we can use a well for the anti-barrier, because there's a lot of ads that spawn in via the anti-barrier. Same thing again, we could have got a cell, just he was that far away, I just wanted to take him down. Do a nade at the door there, take out most of the ads as you saw. And then we're just looking to see where this anti-barrier is going to be. We're weakish. I think we end up doing it well in the end, yeah. So. 2 Anarchy shots. Let Anarchy do its work. Try not to explode Anarchy. See, if you directly shoot Anarchy, it blows it up. Therefore, it delays its maximum damage output. You've always got to be cautious of where did you do an Anarchy on that enemy. Was it on its head? Was it on its feet? Whatever it is, you need to sort of shoot away from that, which can be hard at times. The best way is just to maybe not shoot at all, but with certain champs you've got to. I'll get more into when it matters most. It doesn't at the minute. That's that section done. This next part you can't skip because there's champs, and obviously it's the platinum run, so you're going to be seeing every champ that there is that spawns. But a lot of this is long range. All of it's long range until we get to the farm boss. Then there's a lot of close quarters and encounters at that point. With this bit, we're trying to get a cell here. A cell would help us out. The thing with this area is this. A lot of the ads are jumping from platform to platform. So if you're killing them while they're jumping over, chances are you might get a cell. If you get a cell, it's going to fall off the map. And we haven't got something quick firing to shoot that cell down, like a sniper, Ariana's Vow, or Xenophage, something like that. We haven't. So we want to get a cell on the platform like so. So when you're killing shanks and stuff, wait until they get onto somewhere where, not only that, they're going to drop your ammo. You know, if we were to clear all the shanks while they're in the air, they're going to drop your heavy and it's going to fall off map. And you know, you can't get that ammo. You always want to be worried about your ammo for this, especially for myself, because I didn't have any means of getting ammo off the champs. We've got a good cell there, which took out most of the ads. There is some ads or snipers coming up, which I wasn't sure if they were being of a spawn or I already got them. That's why I was looking over there. I don't end up getting the champ on this location as he's falling off all the time. We do get a stun, but obviously when we push up so far there's an additional spawn of vandals, which I wasn't 100% on. Actually we do get him. Tell a lie. Oh no we don't. So as you can see, he's literally one shot. Next wave of ads gets us. That's fine, because we didn't waste any Anarchy, so nothing was wasted. Just a bit of primary. Nothing. So wasn't too bad. We have a cell, so this is where we're going to utilise. It was glowing, just fell off. Well, I could have utilised the power Rasputin there, which I would have done. Just need to keep disrupting him. He's in an awkward place. You can actually, if the champion falls off the map and you've tagged the champion, you'll get points. It will count as him being defeated. If that happens, don't worry. There'll be a champion on this platform here. He doesn't spawn in until you actually jump on there. And there'll be a ton of snipers and stuff around. This bit's can be dangerous. The champion pushed me, which he doesn't usually do this. So if he does, I would recommend getting a stun and running off until you see what this champ's going to do, because I wasn't sure if he was going to push us or not. But we had some primary back here. And primary is kind of important. Obviously, we haven't got anti-barrier, we can't take shields. Always nice to have a scout because we've got a lot of ads and we can't be wasting all our Anarchy on those. So primary is actually important. So be sure to be always checking for ammo like that. Now we get a stun. We'll do 2 on the ground, 1 at the body. That's usually the most consistent way of stunning champs and getting them down. It doesn't do more damage than 2 Anarchy, but it's the thing is, obviously, when you get your Anarchy shots, you're going to shoot him with your scout to maintain the overload. The explosive payload part of this weapon will explode the Anarchy shots. If you can only do maybe 1 at his legs and then 2 on the floor, and then just crit him, that way you won't blow the shots up. So that's at the ideal scenario that you want to be doing with overloads, especially if they need bursted down quickly. We have a well of Radiance. That's obviously going to be used for the plate mechanic, which you can't skip this area. It needs to be done out of a checkpoint. For this at least, because obviously we need the champions and stuff. These are ways and means of skipping things, but we're not skipping this, of course. Because the whole point of this is the double loot is tied to platinum. The platinum rank. So we need to get the platinum. We also get 100k on this, I will say, only just. If I took maybe a couple minutes or two longer, I wouldn't have got the 100k. So, 100k is hard actually on the master, which is the first. But right now all we're doing is scouting all the shanks in our well. We're trying to capture as much plate as we can, percentage wise. We don't get the big solar shanks, which is interesting, because on the strike version you do, so I'm not sure why they chose not to have that in. But that would have been a lot harder if there was 2 solar shanks. There is a solar shank, like a heavy one, later on. Just 1, that's fine, but if we had an additional 2 here, it would have made things a bit harder because we only have our nade for, you know, solar. There is no void in this as well. There is in the legendary difficulty, but not on this. There's no void shields because that all the Minotaurs have turned into overload, so you don't need void. Got to sell, so we'll try and get ads on the next wave. We didn't get many. Fine. So like the rest of what we've been doing, the whole thing's based on where you stand. So if I'm to push up close further, like past that arc pool and stuff, more ads spawning, more snipers spawn, and so on and so forth. You want to take things as they come, basically. So if you have a wave of ads, you deal with them from that range. Mainly scout rifle. If you can get some SMG kills, that's fantastic, so you can get cells like so. And when you get a cell, it can speed things up. Be wary of ammo drops, so I've got a heavy brick there. I'll be coming back for that later, not now, obviously. Because we have GL scavenger, so we're going to be using more shots. So, you know, better to wait and come back. On this section you're going to get the solar shank. The solar shank will slowly edge its way to you, so that's fine. We can just take out the trash ads while we're waiting on that. Especially the snipers you've got to be worried about. They're the biggest worry. Got a solar nade on that. We'll do a heal in there as well because I didn't know how much damage I would take. I will be popping your healing rift as much as possible, especially with the build that we've got on. You may as well. I've got Dynamo on as well, so every time we pop a healing rift we get super energy. So that's really good. We've got a cell here. We'll utilise that, and as you can see, it just clears out so much. So having a cell build on, it just speeds things up a lot. That's why I would recommend running an SMG rather than a pulse, because obviously there's no pulse that can generate cells. And the SMG goes nicely with a scout. A scout and a pulse is just an awkward loadout. Sometimes you have to do it in Nightfalls, but in this particular one you don't, because what happened is the anti-barrier shields on champions got nerfed. And I'm thinking it's intentional. People thought it was a bug, but I think it's intentional to nerf it. The reason probably why that they've done this is so that the usage of Ariana's Vow will go down. But Ariana's Vow is still useful on Grandmasters and what have you. You can 1-2 shot shields, 2-3 shot shields and stuff. But if you don't want to run Ariana's, you don't have to. You can just run a primary melt shields, you know? So it just means that you'll be surprised on what shield breaks you can actually get now on SMGs. Even on console. Even on console. This champion's in an awkward spot. That's fine, we can get him from down here. We'll get our cell as well. Just be mindful of snipers on this section. Obviously we took them all out. They jumped down, most of them. So you just got to be careful. I think 2 snipes that can basically take you. So it just depends on your power level as well. I'm at power level 1280 I believe. So everything's doing normal damage. Once you get below like 1275, 1271, then the whole thing, I just wouldn't recommend doing it for somebody just a solo. Obviously, I'm at power using the best loadout, using the best build, probably possible. It'd still take me 50 minutes, and I'm not by any means a slow player. Okay? I'm not a super fast player anyways, but it's just telling you, okay, so if that's the time he's going to get with that loadout, what time would it be if you're going to start using builds that just aren't as good? You're looking at an hour plus, aren't you? At that point. And this is only Master, it's not even Grandmaster. Togetherness does slow it down, I will say that, hugely. But this is our first champ at the boss. Like I said, there's going to be around 16 champs. I think there's 8 Overload Minotaurs and 8 Anti-Barriers. I haven't counted them up because this is my first time watching it, but from what I remember when I was doing the run, you get like sort of 2 champions per spawn, and there's 2 spawns per phase. So for every spawn there's 2 champions of each sort of thing. We'll see it when we get there. But I've got a cell there, we'll utilise that cell. We're low on health, of course, gotta be cautious of that. Now this is going to show you where to stand and stuff like that. So this is the location where we're mainly going to be doing damage. Why are we doing that? Well, because we've got leverage on Overload Minotaurs. If we're downstairs, all the Overload Minotaurs are going to push us. The interesting thing with this boss fight, which I like it, is that this Hydra here controls the boss fight, not the boss so much. Generally, the boss fight, so you take a wave of adds on a strike, the boss goes immune, goes invis, you get more adds. You kill the adds, the boss is damageable, so forth. This fight's completely different to that. The boss can be up and not be up at times, but the adds are dictated by not the damage that you do to the boss, but the damage you do to the Hydra. So what I've done here is multiple ways of doing this, but because we're in such a safe place, I wouldn't call this a chase place so much, because you can still die. With our build though, we can't, because we can, but we're less likely to, because if we get one shot on this rock here, we can do a healing rift, we'll get a healing rift back, so we're good. So it's not so much a chase, but it's just that it's a handy place to be taking overloads and stuff like that. There is an exploit that I end up using, which I'll go into why I end up doing that. Not that I'm bothered with that, I don't need, it's going to help people out, so I'm not too fussed. But you'll see, it's not required though, I don't use it for all the run, I only use it 2 or 3 instances where it's kind of needed. For the way I'm doing it at least, sort of needed. As I said, there's 2 waves of overloads for each phase, but it's for each, so like I said, the waves of adds are dictated by the small Hydra. Now the Hydra is done in 3 phases. So the first phase of, so he's a third of a bar of his HP. When you take a third of him completely like I did with Anarchy, that will spawn in 2 champions at the start, and then when he's getting weaker, it will spawn another 2 in. Now I could have just, you can leave the Hydra up in terms of HP, clear the two overloads and all the adds, then melt the Hydra, then get the next 2. The only thing with that is, you've got to keep the Hydra up while he's shooting at you in the wave yet. So that's the only thing with that. So it's a double thing where, okay, if you leave the Hydra up, the overloads are easier, but they're not as well because you've got a massive Hydra shooting at you. Well, the smaller one. So, for example, right now I'm getting weak off this overload. Say there's 2 or 3 overloads shooting at me and the Hydra. Well, it would be 2 overloads and the small Hydra. Then that's just going to make it harder. So for me, I'd rather melt the small Hydra to get all the waves of adds in. We can sort it out, and even if we get a cell, the cell will take out all the smaller adds. This is this place where we do DPS. This is the best place I've found on the map to do damage. Now this boss is particularly weak from what I've noticed to precision damage. I'll imagine a sniper will be very good on this boss. You can just see, I mean, I'm just using an SMG. Now, this SMG is very good, it's perfect weapon for this right now because it's got Vorpal weapon, 4 times the jump. So we're doing that increased damage and we're getting ammo back. and the boss can't really hit us. And even if he does, we'll just do a healing move. We could do a well. I don't end up doing it because I would rather have a well as a panic button for when we're with ads. We really don't need to push damage phase. It's not a fast Nightfall really. Anyways, it's a long run no matter what you do. So I'd rather save the well. I think that would be sort of a waste just to try and melt him down to a third. Like we're not in a rush for that. And you would be only saving 10-20 seconds at most if I'd done that. We can use Anarchy on him as well, of course. Sometimes the Anarchy shots will bounce off him, that's the only thing with it. I would try and separate the Anarchy shots, so maybe hit one on his head, one on his base, or maybe just one. There's nothing worse if you do two and they just bounce off him. Like they do initial damage and bounce off him. So the boss will go immune at a third HP. Now the location, you just saw me there, you go left and now we're under the floor. So I went through that little hole, which reminds me of Vault of Glass days. There used to be a little room, sort of similar, but it was an actual room where you used to go in. Kind of funny. But this leads us to under the floor. Now, the way this works is that you need to get to a location where your gun will start doing damage. You don't need to crouch because you're already crouched. Like you're physically under the floor and your character's crouched. But when you start doing damage, don't move, that's it. You're good to go, don't move. The reason why we're here, and the reason why I'm doing it, is because the big Vex enemies, whatever you call them, will come back to now. They wreck you, literally. Even with void damage resistance on, they wreck you so fast. And when two of them are on you, and you've got champions on you, stuff like that, they're really tanky as well. I mean, they'll go down in 2 Anarchy shots, but in terms of using your primary on them, they're very tanky. So, it's better to come down here, sort out the Hydra in terms of his HP. Same thing again. You get 4 champions for this. Like sort of a little section here, I believe. So this is now switched to overload anti-barriers. We'll get 4 anti-barrier champions. So as you just saw, it's a champion spawning, They're anti-barriers, which is fine, because they're not going to come into where we are. Like, we're under the floor anyways, but even if we weren't under the floor, they're not going to come into the map. So when the small Hydra goes immune, we can take out any remaining ads, take the big Vex, whatever their name is. We can take them. You can shoot cells under the map as well, sometimes you can't as well. So the Rivens or whatever they're called, Wervens. But there's 2 per spawn as well, so I think there's 4 that you take. Something like that. I'm still learning the spawns as we're going anyway. But it's essential to know as well, if you don't know if there's any left, you need to go out there and check, because they can teleport on you from nowhere and just wipe you. You get hit 2 hits from their attack, you're dead. It's as quick as that. So we're checking, so there's 1 left. So we're gonna come to this area here, but we're just gonna sit just to see what they do. Sometimes they'll follow you, sometimes they won't. If there's only 1 left, they'll hide with the champs. If there's 2, they'll push you. So we need whatever we do before we take anti-barrier champions, we need to take down that Vex enemy. We get some Anarchy shots on there. Good. We're getting double ticking, which means they're gonna go down. Perfect. We were going back there just in case. If say we missed an Anarchy shot and they pushed you, and we've always got a plan B. So now it's anti-barrier champs, 4 of them. This is another reason why I got Anarchy on, because it's just an ammo sink. The whole thing itself, the ammo sink. The boss is tanky. There's 16 anti-barrier, there's 16 champions in total on the boss alone, and you've got all the Vex enemies to kill. You've got this to kill and that to kill. So it's an ammo sink, just what it is. like I said, a Witherhorde run could work, make it work with stasis. Could make it work, but it's just that thing of it's going to be harder then. It's going to be harder than what this run was. So this location's really good, or as you can see, getting shield breaks. I'm just getting that shield break, but I think what's helping there is that I've got major spec. I've got major spec on my scout and my SMG. It just means I'm gonna be able to take shields better. That's very important that you put major spec, not minor spec, major spec. We can heal and rift here. This is a good location. The reason for that is because we can isolate each champ. The best location when we're here, like this. If you get a cell as well, leave the cell up, you may as well, and then take advantage of power Rasputin, which I think I do end up doing. Now when there's 2 anti-barriers left, they act a little bit different. They'll go back to the arc pool. Obviously I've done this run more than once, that's why I know so much information about it, for those that don't know. Obviously since reset I've been in here practicing to see what happens when we do this, that, you know. But I know a lot about this one now because I've had a bit of practice with it. When there's 2 anti-barriers left, they gather up and they just sort of retreat to middle. So this is our next best location for this. Get a shield break, finish him off with a nade. We get a cell, which we actually end up taking. I should have actually left that. I would have been better just leaving that cell up, to be honest. But what we'll do is we'll let the champ reset, sort of. Look here, so he can't see us because he's wandering too far back, and we want him a little bit closer because we've only got the SMG on the top. We don't want to be using too much ammo as well. We've only got 9 Anarchy and we've still got a ton of champs to kill. So we're going to use a bit more primary and stuff. Again, major spec's going to, as you can see, major spec's helping out massively damage wise. We've got a nade, so I think we use that to assist. It just means we're saving 2 Anarchy shots. So it's effort, but it's good. Again, if we had Spores of War on, I could get a finisher kill here. I wish I'd probably put Spores of War on in the end. Probably should have. That would have been the better move. I would advise people who are doing this, definitely be putting Spores of War on, especially if you haven't got Anarchy. If you're using the Xenophage, it's an excellent run. It's excellent with Xenophage. When I was first learning this run, I was using double prime and Xenophage. It was excellent, but it's not the best at times when we're using this place here, the ledge, where I'm at. And it's not very good on the boss. We've got our next wave, which I believe it's switched back to Overload. So this spawn is Fanatics and Goblins. Now the Goblins and Fanatics don't really push so much on this phase for some reason. There's no Rivens, call them Rivens. There's no Rivens spawning, so we don't need to use the floor. We don't need to go there. It would just slow us down anyways. See, the floor isn't always a benefit. Only a benefit for safety. In a team run it'd be amazing. Somebody just sit down there and then 2 people at the top. Great. But obviously it's a lot of hassle to set up. Like, you gotta get positioned. Sometimes Anarchy doesn't work down there. There's a lot with it. You'll be wasting heavy down there because the Anarchy might just stick to the floor where you are. Sometimes that happens. So if you don't like this ledge is really good for what we're doing. But it's good enough. It's just with the Rivens, it's just with the amount of damage that they do. It just seems crazy. It's because of the void. It's because of incoming void on. Right. This is also a good place to stand right here. It's not too bad. It just depends on how many champs are up. You need to be aware of that. It's a good place to get a stun because if we stun the champ here, he's going to walk back. His AI is to walk back when he's low on health. But that's fine, we can get another angle on him, whereas the other cliff, the other edge can't. So it's good for that. I'm aware there's another champ up, I believe. Try and get some SMG kills for a cell. So we'll get a cell. We'll shoot the cell just to test the area, see if there's any more adds. And even if there isn't, it doesn't matter. It's doing damage to the boss. Because the boss, the way the boss works is he always sits on the side you're hiding in. So if it's right side, he sits on the right. Left, it's left. The right side's the best place, without a doubt. The cheese spots here, the floors, the floor cheese is there, the ledge is there, and you can do DPS to him. It's free DPS here, like. Just seems the most consistent anywhere. Important you save a good amount of Anarchy as well for the end, because the end part is very difficult. Which I'll talk when we get to that point. Right now we're just going to get into a third or just above a third of his HP. This SMG is very good for this though. I'm pleased I used this. Like I say, Ikelos wouldn't do this because I don't even think you can't get this roll of all time. Now I'm on PS5 course. Now what I've noticed with the Ikelos and the Seraph weapon, the Ikelos weapon feels better on PS4. And the Seraph doesn't feel very good because of recoil, but when I'm on PS5 there's hardly no recoil anyways, so the Seraph for me feels better. Well, it doesn't feel better, it's just that it feels better than what it is on PS4. We're going to use the floor again. I was, at the time of doing this run, I wasn't sure if there was Rivens or not, which there wasn't. We're back to Overload Minotaurs, I believe. So it's just a wave of adds and Overload Minotaurs. There's so many waves of enemies on this, it's just so much to remember with it. You need to jump on that little ledge to get out of here as well. Now obviously we're 140k, we had 150k earlier, so we are losing a lot of score, but there's still a lot to do. So the 100k, it's tight-ish, but obviously I took things slow at certain times because you need to, just because of Togetherness. Like if Togetherness wasn't on, it wouldn't be as long or as daunting. Right now I'm having issues with overloads not pushing in this area, so we're going to try to change that. In the end we end up getting a stun on the stairs, but just watch your flank. Be like, people say, oh, watch your radar in PvP. You need to watch your radar on this because you may get flanked in this area. It also tells me how many ads are still up, which is loads. There's loads of ads. We'll get a stun here, we'll do 2 Anarchy shots. We're gonna do a healing in case we get flanked, which has happened to me before. Gonna keep overloading him there. And when we're done with that, we're gonna jump right back up, just in case any more overload. Push it. These are the remainder of the ads, which we can take. Easy enough, this phase. I believe that's the last 2 goblins. Now it's just looking at the radar wise, there's only 2 enemies. So there's an overload champ and the boss. So we need to bait the overload champion. Be careful of the boss, as you see that massive amount of damage you've done. Void damage, without void damage resistance there, I would have been way lower than what I was. We're going to try and bait out the overload. When he does that, he's going to push back, so we're going to have to take him on the floor, unfortunately. But we've got a healing, which we can survive the onslaught of 1 overload in a healing, so we're good enough at that. We just need to get the bait. That's the bait right there, as you can see. Great. Get the bait, do a nade, of course, we always get our nade. And we're getting an power buff as well, and then a finisher. Get him out of the road. Then back to DPS. Try and save up on Anarchy. We're not using too much because after this there's gonna be 4 more anti-barrier champions, and what's gonna happen is there'll be Rivens spawn, per phase, load of ads. The anti-barriers aren't threatening yet, but they can be at the very end, because the difference here is, like before when we were doing the anti-barriers, the boss wasn't there. Okay? So the anti-barriers were easy enough to take, but now the boss is going to be there and the anti-barrier champions, and the anti-barrier champions won't push you, they'll only hang around where the boss is. You've got to deal with the boss and the anti-barrier champions, and they're all shooting void at you. Okay? So this is probably the most difficult phase of the whole thing. I was even considering putting on Lament on, because you could use the Lament, bait the boss one way, then quickly, you know, melt a champion down with Lament, because you can melt them pretty quick, and do it like that. It would have worked great, but Lament's not good for anything else. And you need something that ticks all the boxes. Lament's, you know, not good for the boss, it's not good for long range. Togetherness is on. I haven't always got a well to use, so it's just not ideal. It would be great for the end though. So we got the small Hydra as well. He's on his last third, final third. As you saw, Anarchy stuck to the floor there. Just sometimes happens. I can't explain it because I just used Anarchy then and it worked. So 100% why. Sometimes he's sticking to the floor. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes this floor isn't the best. But if you can get any Rivens under here, get the small Hydra killed, then that just makes everything just that little bit easier. Take any other adds as well. Just looking up to see if there's any more Rivens pushing. That's the end of the Hydra. There's a cellar, but we can't really get and shoot to it, because as I said, we're crouched. Can't crouch over, sort of thing, to go under the floor. And that's it. If there's no more ads going to push you here, you need to go out. Oh, there is. Oh, fine. Get our 2 Anarchy sticks there. Perfect. If your gun doesn't do damage, obviously you're going to have to move again just a little bit. Another Riven. I believe there's 4. I believe there's 4 in total that we have to take out. That's just annoying. I'm just losing ammo because of this. And taking them out with a scout is forever. It is forever. With how tanky they are. They're not even yellow bars, they're just red bars. Just be careful of Anarchy as well, it can explode on you. Like you can shoot it and it'll do tick damage. You can nade as well, which I never mentioned, but the ads need to be pretty much on top of you for it to even work. Vortex will do the same as well, any sort of nade like that. Try again at Anarchy, which it works. Okay. Be enough to take. That's the Riven down. I don't think there's any more. Then we can exit out. Just crouching there. Obviously we're not taking damage from the radio Valerian, but you can in certain areas. You don't need to go anywhere else but where I was, and you won't take any tick damage off that. We're just sort of looking at the area, see if there's any more ads, which there is. Take them out from this little window as well. If we get one shot, we can even back up to the little hole if we want. So again, we're checking our radar, seeing what's outside. To me, that just looks like there's the anti-barrier champions and the boss, which is ideally what we want. We don't want any Rivens alive. If there's any Rivens alive while we're dealing with anti-barriers and the boss, it's going to be a wipe. Which there isn't. You can do that by checking the area out. Obviously once you check out a certain area, the boss goes to that side of the map, so you've got to know what to do. So this is, for me, was the hardest bit. Figuring out how to reliably take these anti-barriers while dealing with the boss. And on the left side I found to be the best area to do that. This location right here, because all the anti-barriers will group up, or a lot of them will group up. And the boss will... He'll maybe stick to one side of the map rather than pushing you. Like this central lane I'm in here, the boss isn't really pushing this central lane from what I noticed from it. So we're going to use that. We'll get a shield break here. Do another 2 Anarchy shots because it's crucial we get this anti-barrier down like as soon as. When we've done that, we can then leave that cell up. We'll get the power of Rasputin going. We're going to do well here as well because at this point, this is the best thing to do. That's 2 anti-barriers down. That's great, and the boss has only just pushed us now. So that's great. Getting 2 in one go like that was ideal. This particular barrier was just going further back and back, so I couldn't do anything with that. So it's going to be this anti-barrier that jumps from ledge to ledge, which we'll get. Do a healing around the corner. Always have a healing up for this bit because they do void, and if we get one shot we get a rift anyways. It's there to use, we may as well. I'm also noticing there's a lot of bricks out there, so we're happy to use all our Anarchy, or just about all of it. And then the boss slowly makes his way over. So that central lane is the best place on this map, definitely. Unless you're running a pulse rifle. If you're running a pulse rifle, it can be literally anywhere, but obviously I wouldn't use a pulse because I can't make cells as much. If there was if there was a pulse rifle that made cells, I would be using it, but there isn't. I mean, there is, if you can get certain combinations of perks, but there's not like an actual Icolos pulse or Seraph pulse. We'll get our ammo up. We're just sort of at this point wanting the champion to reset and get into a good location. So what we are going to do is do a rotation and actually go outside to see where the anti-barrier is. Which I just saw him walking through the central lane there. So we're going to take it. We're going to take him from there. We're going to push him just a little bit because of range, and then we're just going to spam him with Anarchy, nade. And then we're done at that point. Then, where we were doing DPS earlier for the whole thing, we'll go back there and then do our damage. And heal and rift up here, and then at this point we can just melt him down. So, as you saw, 107k, so we've lost more than 40,000 points in score due to just how long this boss is. Now yeah, the floor cheese and stuff, or the floor exploit, will have made things a little bit longer but more consistent. It just makes it more consistent because you can get easily killed by Riven. And just knowing where they are as well, because they can just teleport on top of you for no reason and then just wipe you. So to stop all that, you use that. We'll try and melt him down as quickly as we can, so 100k, so we still get the 100k and platinum rank. That was how best to do this one. It is double loot, but there is no farming solo for this. I wouldn't recommend you're going to solo farm this one. Just because how long it's going to take. Even if you optimize this run, you're looking 40 minutes tops. You're not going to be getting this. It's not going to be like Lake of Shadows. Put it that way. That was the run. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.